Good morning and welcome to this week's Breakfast with Mike. And this week, we're going to talk about leads. And we're going to talk about leads for free because free's better. I don't know why, but it is. Would you rather pay for leads or would you rather develop leads? If I told you that the result was the same, you'd still go to a closing. Because some of you would say, well, those free leads, they're crap. Well, some of them are. But as many of you have heard, I've told that story. I think it was Floyd that first taught it to me when the two kids were in two different rooms, and one of them had all the latest stuff, and one of them had nothing but a big pile of horse manure. And they came back an hour later, and they went to the one that had all the stuff, and the kid was like, "Oh, that's broke. This don't work." And they go in the other one, and they can't see nothing. And out of the middle of the pile of horse manure pops this kid, and they're like, "What the heck are you doing?" He goes, "The pile of horse manure this big, got to be a pony in here somewhere." Well, that's how we're looking at leads. Pony, got to find the pony, okay? If it was easy, everybody would do it. This is a job. So let's talk about, because right now we have a huge lack of inventory. Where can we start finding people who are thinking about moving? Well, let's start with our core. Why aren't we talking to our core more about this? You know, never mind asking them if they're going to move. This is one of the reasons people don't stay in touch with their core enough, because they keep saying to me, I can't keep asking them to move. I don't want you to ask them to move in the first place. I want you to ask, who do you know who's thinking about moving? Who do you know? Who's in the neighborhood that's been talking about it? That's what I'm doing first. And I should be talking to those people every single month. Every month I should be talking to the people in my core, and not about real estate. But 2 or 3 times a year, I can ask them a real estate question. This is one of those times. We're getting ready to get into the spring market. Get ahead of it. There are people right now that are talking at the dinner table. No, they're talking at the breakfast table. That's why it's Breakfast with Mike. But they'll be talking at the dinner table about moving. And you need to ask the question, who do you know who's been talking about moving? That's number one. Number two, this is relatively new, but it's really not. It's new to the concept, but it's really not new. I mean, years ago, I knew all my neighbors. And I knew when they were thinking about moving, and I knew that I could ask them about who was moving. But apparently that doesn't work the same now. So what I introduced was basically called the Book of 25. And the Book of 25 is really simple. Think about who lives to your right. How well do you know them? Do you know what kind of movies they like? Do you know what kind of food they like? Are they into sports? Do they have hobbies? They have kids? Get to know them so that you can talk to them about things other than real estate. How about the person on your left? Oh, wait. Let's make a long story short. 6 to your left, 6 to your right. Go across the street. Then 6 to his right, 6 to his left. That adds up to 25. One guy said to me, well, one of those guys is a realtor. Skip them. Don't call the realtor. Go one more house. Go one more house. That's all. Instead of going 6 to your right, go 7. But find 25 neighbors that you can start to get to know. Some of my students now are planning parties, neighborhood block parties, come springtime. Well, I think one's doing it in the spring, another one's doing it in the summer. Get to know these people. And then they'll get to know you. Oh, yeah, we have a neighborhood expert. You know, our neighborhood expert's Avery. He's our realtor. And then anytime it comes up in conversation, they're going to give your name. A third way of finding leads for listings, and I know You're going to go, well, but it's the sale by owner. Sale by owners are an easy way because they're basically jumping up and down saying, I want to sell my house. Now, I think you need to realize that there are 3 different types of sale by owners. And if you keep saying to me, I keep calling them and they're always saying no, you might be hitting that first type, which is the sale by owner for life. You know, they come on the market 3, 4 times a year, then they come off, they always raise the price. They're not moving. Practice on them, but don't think you're going to get anything. You know, take your new material out like a comedian does and practice on them. I love it when comedians go to some of the comedy clubs and that's all they're doing is they're trying out new material for their TV program that's coming up. Well, you could do the same thing. Practice on these guys. The second type of sale by owner is the absolute brand new one. They just came on Sunday. They're not going to list on Monday. But if I can get to be friendly with them, and my feeling was always call them on Monday or Tuesday because typically that's when they're still sulking about their failed open house. See, they all think that the open house is going to work. We know it isn't. At least 92% of the time it isn't. So we know that they're you know, it's not going to happen. You call them on Monday, sometimes they go, oh no, I'm getting 3 offers. I'll have them tonight. Call them back on Wednesday. They didn't come in. So you call them on a day that they're down about it. And then all of a sudden, you start to make friends with them. And when they're ready to move, you get the phone call. The third type of sale by owner is the one that we can go get today. They've been on the market for a month or so. They already know a lot of the stuff that's gone wrong. They've already been stood up for showings. They've already had offers promised that didn't come. They're tired of it. And if you can go in there and say to them, listen, I totally understand. I'm sure you're being bombarded with realtors, but here, let me just ask you this. If I could prove to you, and I mean prove beyond any doubt, that I can put more money in your pocket than you can for yourself, will you give me 15 minutes? That's all I'm asking you for. Give me 15 minutes and I'll prove it. If I don't prove it, throw me out. I promise you, I'll prove it. And if I could do all the work that you're trying to do on your own and still net you more money, well, then the only reason you might still think that you could sell it on your own is more pride than anything else. And I understand that, but I won't make you look bad. I will put more money in your pocket. Now, the odds are, if we're dealing with a couple, one of them wants to list. The other one doesn't. The other one still has that pride. I can do it on my own. You just got to keep after them. It's amazing some of the studies that are done when they talk to sale by owners and find out that somebody called once or twice, and that was it. Sometimes it takes 5, 6 times. Where else can I find listing leads? Well, expireds. But expireds right now is different than it was years ago. Years ago, when a home expired, we pretty much knew it was overpriced. Now, that's not the number one reason. The number one reason that homes expire is they can't find something. That's their problem. They leave it priced too high because they're afraid. By the way, you're the one that goes in and says, listen, if you list with me, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have offers coming in, 47 offers in the first 8 hours. I mean, you're the one that sets this up. So it's natural for them to feel like, geez, if he's going to sell it that fast, if she's going to sell it that quickly, maybe we should price it a little higher so we have a time to go find something. And then they go out there and they start looking and realize there's nothing out there. But that's not true because they're looking in one place, and that's MLS, and you already know that their house isn't in MLS. So if you call up an expired and they say, well, we're not listing. By the way, my thought on this, and I learned this the hard way, every bit of training I ever had said, call them up, ask them if they still want to sell. Nobody wants to sell. You got to be a little weird to want to sell. I mean, packing up all that crap again and again? No, people don't want to sell. They want to move. You got a guy in a house he's married and they got 3 daughters and the 1 bathroom. Guess how that's going to be in the morning, you know? So they might say, yeah, it's time to move. And listen, 2 baths, 3 baths, outhouse in the backyard. I'll settle for that, Find out what is it? And then they're going to say, yeah, but I can't find anything. And these are the words you need to say. When they say they can't find anything, you need to say to them, well, that's okay. Your house more than likely is not in MLS, and it won't be. Now, what have they been doing day after day after day? They've been going into MLS and looking for the house they think they're going to buy. And now you're saying it's not in MLS. Now you got to follow that up. Listen, I know that sounds a little off, but here, let me explain to you what I mean. I network with some of the top listing agents in the area, and a lot of them don't put their homes in MLS right away. They network it. The good news for you is I network with them. And by the way, if that doesn't work, I'll call up others, trying to find somebody maybe that had their house on the market, changed their mind, but it fits for you. Heck, I'll knock on every door in Oklahoma if I have to, but I'll find your house and it's not in MLS. All of a sudden that buyer's thinking different. They think, wait a minute, I was under the impression everything is in MLS. And now you're showing them something different. Can I list that? Expired once they realize that I can help them find a house. Yeah. And then a 5th way to find listings are out-of-state owners. Now, I've been saying this now for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, or maybe it's 2 or 3 decades, that out-of-state owners is a great source of listing. Number one, you have no competition. If I was in a classroom right now, I would turn around and I would say, how many of you are marketing to out-of-state owners? And maybe one hand would go up, maybe. You have no competition. People are not going after them, which is exactly why you should. I've told this story many times, but it's just, I had this guy call me up one time and he said he wanted to sell his condo. He lived, I forget, I think he was out in Minnesota somewhere. And he said, I want to sell my condo. I said, no problem. Let me go take a look at it. And he said, no, there's no need. I said, what do you mean? He said, my tenant's going to buy it. I said, oh, that's great. I said, so what do you need from me? And he says, well, I already told the guy to call you because I need somebody to protect my interest. And I've been getting these newsletters from you, and you said you would do that. So I need somebody to protect my interest. And so the guy's going to call you. I said, okay, so I'll go out, take a look at it, make sure it's going to appraise. Because no need, that's all taken care of too. I said, you guys know how much he's going to pay? He goes, oh yeah, we've already agreed on a price. I just need you to write up the contract. Never met this guy. Gave me the listing, full price, no inspections, no appraisal, no nothing. Buyer walked in, he was happy as could be. Seller paid me a full commission. Like 2 or 3 years later, that tenant called me up and ended up selling the place. I got 3 sides on a deal, never met him. Just for marketing to out-of-state owners. Well, that sounds like a lot of work. It's called a job. That's what you have, is a job. I know some of you don't think of it as a job, but it is a job. You do have to work once in a while, but this is an easy thing for you. It's not huge. I mean, for me, I probably get 2, 3 listings a year out of a particular town. I ended up, by the time I finished, I probably had 8 towns that I was doing. I don't know. How many of you could use an extra 15 or 16 listings a year? Yeah, that's what I thought. I brought this up the other day in a class I was doing. I said, the other part about out-of-state people, you should look around the local colleges, because a lot of times investors, when they've got a son or daughter that's going to college, they don't want to pay the room and board. They'll come in, they'll buy a piece of property, they'll have their son or daughter live in it for the time that they're there. They'll rent out the other rooms to other students, so they're making a profit. And then 3-4 years later, they sell it. And most of those people are not people that live in town. If they lived in town, they wouldn't need the house. Well, where do I find that? Go down to the college, talk to the admissions office. Who's coming in? I could talk to the people that are coming in if they might have thought about buying one of these. Oh, would you have anything in mind? Well, what about talking to the outgoing seniors? We're almost in March. They were getting ready to graduate. Those sellers might think about selling, especially if they've had it for 4 years, because that's pre-COVID. What are the chances that that property has appreciated quite a bit since they bought it? Yeah, but don't bother them. They might not want to take your phone call. I mean, it's amazing what people will say as a reason not to do something. Anyway, I gave this idea out at a class last week, and this week when we had class with them, the student said she started doing that. She picked up 3 leads, 1 seller, 2 buyers. Why haven't you done it? I don't know. Too busy. Doing what? Not this. Anyway, there's 5 different ways that you can find seller leads for free. What are you doing to find seller leads? Waiting for the phone to ring is not on my list. It never will be. Go looking for them. They're out there. Somebody is going to be at the dinner table today talking about moving. They just don't know where to find you. So you're going to have to go find them. I'm going to turn off the recording, let these guys throw some questions. They might even have a couple of other sources where we could find some leads. If you'd been here, maybe you will be next time. Hope you have a great week. Let me shut this off.